podcast, Leeds United fan channel. We talk about Leeds United, in case you didn't know, through the branding of the Roaring Peacock. We should have called it something else, shouldn't we? The mildest Leeds United podcast or something like that. Yes, it's been a minute. My name's Adonis, and you know me as @theAdelites on Twitter. It's a very good hello from me, joining us to discuss 3 Leeds United games and preview assured 3 points against Arsenal is Barney from the internet at Barney LUFC 21.
Aye, you all right?
Very good, thank you, Barney. And the Prince of Darkness himself. Boy, do we need him. Navigate us through this darkness. It's Machievelli at Ewan Metcalf.
Evening, folks. Cheers.
So we've been away for some while, and we've got 3 games to review. 3 wonderful victories. Brentford 5, Leeds United 2. So good victory for Ivan Toney there. Leeds 0, Villa 0. A fantastic victory for Stuart Atwell, and Palace 2, Leeds 1, a great victory for Patrick Vieira. Should we start with Palace? Is it freshest?
Feels like a long time, boys. I feel like we need to, like, you know, when you go in a meeting at work and you have to talk, you have to introduce each other and do two truths and a lie or something to rebond because it's been a long time, boys. But we're not dead. We are still going. So thanks for all your messages of concern. Literally none. So they've not missed us that much, have they?
2 truths and a lie.
I'm joking. I don't want to know.
Barney's sending his kid to Eton. The future Prime Minister, little junior Barney.
He'd probably end up being a Tory as well. I'd be a proud dad.
Let's not get started on that shit.
Yeah. Let's not get.
I'm in a bad enough mood already.
I think even the Tories are starting to hate the Tories at this point.
Everybody does. I told you it'd happen eventually. Elite themselves. Anyway, what we're saying, Brentford. Yeah, fucking Brentford.
Palace. Brentford.
Palace. Oh, yeah.
Villa and Palace.
Yeah, Brentford's in a different time zone now, wasn't it? Surely it feels like months and months and months ago. It was
Brentford felt to me like Ivan Toney versus Llorente, and Llorente had one of those Kiko Casilla-esque mind melts that he's capable of. I don't know, it must be a Spanish thing.
I'm telling you, we're the only fucking club on the planet that can buy shit Spanish players. They're absolutely brilliant, aren't they? Everywhere you watch them, it's like, wow, Spanish players are really great technical. I saw Llorente last night in Sainsbury's, and like me, my lad, and my cousin were like at Moortown. We're all stood, and he came in. He's quite a lot taller than you might imagine, and very angular, like thin, and stood out as he came through the door. And I said to him, "Do you want to go get a foot?" He's like, "No." If he was any good, I might. If it was Rodrigo, if it was this or that, and I'm like, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I felt a bit sorry for him. He looked quite forlorn, and he was walking down the aisle, and an old lady nutmegged him with a cabbage. and he fell over as he tried to grab her around the ankles as she popped it in the bottom corner. Fucking hell, yeah. We have a knack of buying shit Spanish players, Pablo being the obvious exception. Shit Brazilians as well, actually, apart from Rafinha, because Rocky Jr. was the last one, wasn't he? And he was shit and all. We're good, aren't we?
Do you think Llorente missed his siesta or something?
I don't know what he missed, but he missed being a footballer for about an hour and a half, didn't he? So I think the thing with the Brentford game is, obviously referee decisions, awful, terrible. Let's not keep blaming the rest, but it was dreadful. We should have had one of them games where it could have been 6-5. But it was so depressing to lose to them by such a scoreline. It's just horrible, isn't it? So, not a great way to sort of not play for a month, was it? So,
Leeds 0, Villa 0, Barnes.
Well, if that was an advert for the Premier League, you want your money back. Absolutely dreadful from the start to the finish. Football wasn't great. Villa just came to shit house most of the game. And considering the amount of money, and everyone always compares us to Villa, to being a similar size team. They're no way ahead of us compared to having one season ahead of us. They were awful. It just felt a really weird atmosphere as well. It just didn't seem to get going, but maybe that could have been stop-start game to it. There was no free-flowing football that we're used to. I mean, when Sinistera got sent off as well, that was just the crown of the how the referee performed that day. It was absolutely shocking. But as a advert for the Premier League, that is what you're going to get with. That's a mid-table team performance. Unfortunately, you're not going to get your Liverpool Man City game. That's how it is because everyone's scared of losing 3 points.
It's weird, isn't it? There's like this mid-table fight, scrap to the death, basically.
Rollerball.
It was very Championship sort of style football. It was just.
I was just going to say that it's like we never got promoted, either of us. Yeah. It was a definite mid-table Championship game. That's as good as it got. And I think the frustration with the refereeing was I can't, I don't get after refs unless they really deserve it. I thought the one at Brentford was appalling. And I do get after refs all the time for literally no reason. But I didn't think it was as bad as people were making out. I think people were frustrated because it was such a poor game. But the difficulty becomes where you've got that Bailey who, kicked the ball away very early in the game, which is technically exactly the same as what Sinister did, time wasting at a set piece. You look in the rule book, it's exactly the same caution. And he picks Sinister out, sticking his leg out 10 feet away, whereas Bailey boots the ball away. And he committed a really silly foul later on where he would have been set up. So it's the inconsistency at all times, isn't it? If Bailey had gone and then Sinister would have gone, you'd have thought, well, fair enough. They both made a silly tackle and committed a time wasting offence. But it's always the way with Leeds, isn't it? They don't see them ones, but they absolutely pick up on Leeds. It's just at a time where I thought if we came out second half, it was ours for the taking.
I talked about unconscious bias. Do you think that's the thing?
Yeah, definitely. I've always thought it's the Leeds paranoia in us all. I guess it'd be interesting to know what other fans think, whether we all think that, whether every club feels that happens, but it certainly seems to happen more often than not with Leeds. So many people hate us. You only have to look at the number of songs that are sung about us, the people that absolutely can't stand Leeds fans and put us all, tar us all with the same brush. So, compared to a Brentford who are pretty innocuous and other teams around, I think we are going to probably pick up on some of that vibe. Yeah, definitely.
I think Ellen Road has a big thing as well because there's probably players that have heard about the atmosphere. They've never played there before. They've heard about the nastiness of the fans and also the ref as well. So the ref will say, right, this is my game. The fans aren't going to ref the game. And I think sometimes some refs and players just come in with an attitude because it's Ellen Road.
Yep, agreed.
Yep, okay. It's going well so far, isn't it?
No, it's fucking uplifting, this, isn't it?
Laugh a minute.
It's uplifting. No, I think it's right. It's right, though. I think if you come into a cauldron of a stadium, referees with the ego that they've got are going to say, I'm not going to be bullied into making decisions. And what they tend to do is go the opposite way. I think that's something that just happens. And I don't think it's in some ways, it's kind of a human thing. It's not, a biased or a kind of all against us thing. It's just a human thing. I'm not going to make a decision based on crowd shouting for it. But then I see it all the time where crowd shouts for a decision. There was one the other night at, it was at Palace, where there was a foul just before they got the free kick for the first goal. And the crowd shouted for it and he gave it. And it's like, I don't even think that was a foul. There's a load of stuff like that goes on. So, other teams seem to be able to sort of influence the ref, but not at Leeds. He seems to go the opposite way, like Barney says.
Okay, and Palace 2, Leeds 1. Good 30 minutes.
Should we just stop talking about football? I fucking hate it. We've got a draw, a loss. 2 losses and a draw to talk about. Let's fucking not bother. Let's not bother.
Should we just get through it real quick?
Yeah, how long have we got? We've only got to fill another 45 minutes. Great. Let's talk about Palace.
30 minutes of really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
Winning the ball back high up the pitch. Palace were trying to play out from the back with their lines close together, and we dominated them. Loads of chances. Should have been 2 or 3, and then they get a goal from their first shot on target from a silly unforced error again by one of our defenders.
Captain Reliable.
And then in the second half, Vieira makes a little bit of a tactical change. The players spread out a bit, so the defenders stand basically 10 meters further away from the midfield, so they spread out. We can't, because we're really compact. We can't win the ball back easily enough, and they can just play around our press. We had no answer to that. There was no changes, tactical changes. All of the substitutions didn't work. It was just can somebody else start talking now?
Apart from that, it was great. Yeah, it was brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant.
You know what? I'm turning into you, Donny, because I was literally groaning at the telly and going, like, it's just so frustrating because they start off well. I mean, if Bamford puts that second one, there's so many little. I think the thing about it now compared to when Bielsa went was that we were getting battered by average teams, good teams were battering us. But it's all fine margins now. That's the frustrating thing. You know, Bamford puts that one away, which he should have done, let's be frank. If he was fully fit, Bamford, having played 20 games, consecutively, scores that all day, that's a different game then, isn't it? But, to score with their first shot, frustrating. But I thought we went to bits a little bit. The passing, these people keep going on about systems, and Bielsa was a victim of this. He stuck to a system, and he believed in the system, and everybody had to fit around that. Marsch is no different. He's got this system, and it's that or nothing. This plan B thing's coming back to haunt us again, and how we can't react to their change, the slight change in tactics to try and nullify that. It was fairly obvious they were going to get a second one, I think, by the end of it. I thought our passing was off. Players who you kind of rely on to play well, when we need something, Harrison and, we had no Sinistera. We didn't have that match winner, that guy who can score from nothing. I think Harrison was awful. He played awful. I thought Christensen did well as a positive. We're going to look at, let's try and be positive. I thought Christensen did really well against Zaha, frustrated him without getting involved. He just played his game. So that was quite bright because he's not lived up to expectations thus far. I thought that Adams was really good. Aronson was great for sort of 60 minutes, but just so frustrating because it doesn't matter what system you play. If you can't pass to each other at pace, and the Bamford chance is a great example of how Leeds should be playing. Played into somebody, holds it up, flicks it off to somebody making a run, opens them up with a great pass, and we're in. We do it once or twice a game. We're not capable of that consistency, of continuing to do it. And that's what's frustrating because they sort of play at that quick pace. And when we started to play that 1-2 touch football, that playing it round the corner, playing into people who are making runs, and then we stopped doing it and just play static, really boring football. It's like one-out rugby, whatever the equivalent is of football, kind of sideways, backwards stuff. And it's really, really frustrating because it is a game of fine margins. And we're losing games, bar Brentford, by a goal, here and there, by a silly opportunity given away by a champ, a mistake. So we're not far off, are we? And that's probably the optimistic side of me thinking we haven't got far to go to put it right. But it's just, we've got to get Bamford back looking like Bamford because he looks shot at the moment to me.
It makes me remember, the 20 under-23 games that Bielsa would get injured players to play before they were able to come back into the first team. Just reminds me of that because obviously Bamford hasn't played any under-23 games or under-21 games now. So that yeah. Barney, Palace 2, Villa 1. Leeds 1.
This game was probably the most disappointing out of the three of them, really. The way we actually played football in the first half, I was really impressed with some of the play we were doing. I was impressed with Christian, like Ewan said. I thought Strike's just growing into that left back role. I think he's doing really well. He's probably one of the best players so far this season. But I think it highlights that, dare I say, he needs to be quite an intelligent player in this system compared to the Bielsa system. It's about making those quick choices, quick passes straight away. And if you're not on the ball and you don't know where the player is next to you to pass, it can look very, very messy. And that's what it looked like in the second half. It looked really, really messy. It looked like players were panicking a little bit. It was rushed. It wasn't a calculated rush of passing. It was just really rushed because I thought, shit, we're losing. And it feels like there's the mentality there. If the goal goes down, the shot to go get back into the game again. It was really disappointing to see some players that Bamford. First half was the old Bamford. I thought, like Ewan said, he's good at holding the ball up. We miss a striker like that. There's no one else in the team that can do that. So it's just really, really disappointing the way we just fizzled out in the second half.
Yeah, we missed a player like Cody Hagbo. I would have thought. And if you think about how we played under Bielsa, that was possession based, wasn't it? So we'd spread out. Everybody would spread out, make the pitch really massive, and we just kick the ball around people. And we knew where everybody else was. So what you're talking about, Barney, is the blind passes. And I remember Thomas Frank saying that, we were very patterned because they drilled those patterned passes over and over and over again. So then all of a sudden with Marsch, we're having to make decisions and think about things again because people aren't in necessarily the same places all the time. And if we don't press high and be pressing high and winning the ball back constantly and also giving away possession because we're playing direct, then we look like we're not really sure what to do, and we're not necessarily sure what to do in possession. And I think he really missed a trick where he could have kept some of the style of Bielsa in that, say, when we've got possession in our own half, we can spread wide like we used to in a 4-1-4-1 under Bielsa because they already know that system. And then we can pass around the opposition and we can hold possession for a while. And the problem seems to be, so much so, is that every time we get the ball, we're trying to play direct. And then we lose the ball again and give it away.
Yeah, that's really frustrating, that, because you work hard to get the ball back and then you give it straight back trying to pass through 4 people. Now, listen, when it comes off, it's great, but how often, even with the best players in the world, that doesn't happen often. Getting through those lanes and those channels is difficult. It's got to be you've got to have such range on the ball. You look at Roja and you think, yeah, he's kind of a player you can see doing it. Adams possibly not. Aronson definitely. So it's not a skill everybody can do, or haven't got the vision to do it. And I think the other thing is, there's a lack of movement to be able to do that as well. What you need behind those lines and in those channels to make that work is lots of movement, short, little sharp movement, little long runs, diagonal stuff. I look ahead of him and I'm thinking, if I was stood there in midfield, I'd be doing the same, because it's like there's one option all the time, or a couple of options. So I do think that there's some issues need sorting. And the other point I was going to make, which again, I'm not a coach or a professional football coach, but just overcoach people. Surely, if you say to people, yes, you've got to have a system. Yeah, you've got to stick to this kind of belief that Marsch or Bielsa previously had. But surely, as a footballer in game, you can make decisions off the cuff and in the moment that impact on the game. And at times, it looks like, again, that we're a victim of this very rigid, this is the system we are going to play. We've got this identity. The problem with that is people can work it out and can manage it accordingly, and do something different because they know what you're coming with. And I think that's what happened to Bielsa towards the end, and I can see it happening even quicker with Marsch, because the one thing we had when Bielsa was there was people couldn't live with it. Whereas I think they can live with the way that Leeds are currently playing. When
we went down to 10 against Villa, they'd already practiced how they would play with 10 men, as there's some screaming going on in the background there.
Not sure who's that. Is that mine?
Well, it's definitely not here. Sorry, that's really distracting. I'll let me be you in a sec. So that they had a plan B. If we go down to 10 men, this is how we play. And so I just think that, when they do have a plan B, it looks really good and they know what to do. And when you don't have a plan B, then It goes badly wrong, like it did against Palace. Right, some of your comments. Gordon White. Good evening, fellas. Our results are bad enough without contemplating the joke that is our government. Liam B says, hi, lads. The refereeing and VAR are at an absolute low, says Gordon. I did see an article on the YEP saying that Leeds are bottom of the VAR charts, or 19th.
Really?
Yeah. Bandy, when will we buck this trend of playing a lone striker when we have the personnel to play two forwards? We've had some spam on Twitch. I won't read that out. Insomniacs are us. Performances, inconsistencies with referees is spoiling the game. How wasn't Liverpool given a penalty against Arsenal? The defender... let's not talk about them. Liam B, the ref was terrible. He seemed to have his own agenda. Unmute Ewan now. And Bandy says, if we don't give Joffrey some starts, we will lose that boy. We must energise the demolition beam.
He's got to earn it. He's got to work though a bit. He was terrible when he came on Joffrey. All he did was just fucking commit fouls all over the place.
And the thing with Joffrey is the way Bamford works, he's so good at leading the press, and that's what you need in the press that we're trying to do with Marsch. It's not a man-marking press, it's a team press. And Bamford is so good at that because he's such an intelligent player. Joffrey, though, I don't think can quite read the game yet. He does look like a sort of player thinks, I need to run now. But do you really need to run for that press? He just seems to do a lot of running, but not really having a press behind him to do it, unfortunately. And it's unfair to ask the young lad if we're a Premier League team, relying on a young lad like Joffrey to lead the line as well.
Yeah, we've got Bamford, Rodrigo, Joffrey, Willie. I don't think any of them have really worked this season. I think that's been one of the problems. Rodrigo did the first 3 games until he got injured. And if you look at somebody like Hakpo, he's got as many goal contributions as Haaland this season, 23.
He's never coming to Leeds, though. It's a joke.
No,
it's
not anymore.
It's another bloody... What was his name? The guy who went to Atletico and from Italy, Rodrigo de Paul.
Rodrigo de Paul.
We're more likely to get him bloody... What do you call it? The one who does drag race? Rude Paul and Rodrigo de Paul. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the same. It's just the same bullshit. I mean, that's just Radrizzani starting to piss people off with that now. Oh, yeah, he's coming in January, maybe let all that. It's just getting silly. I mean, and the thing is, it don't matter who you bring in. Again, I'm convinced that. I know somebody said in the chat that we said it. I think me and Wiggy said it at the start of the season. We both felt we'd seen the best of Bamford, and it's looking a bit that way. I know what you're saying, Barney. The first 20 minutes, when he was fit, but he looked shot after about half an hour. He just didn't look himself. There was none of that kind of pressing or kind of making the runs and stuff. And as I say, I mean, that finish I thought was an easy finish, either with your right foot or outside of your left foot down the side of the keeper, the left-hand side of the keeper, rather than trying to go the other way. And just bad decision making all around, and it's just costing us. But like I say, it's early days still in the season. We haven't got going, have we? I think that's the other thing to take on board is we sort of got started really quickly. That's again disappointing because you look at how we played against Wolves and at Chelsea, and even when we sort of drew games, we looked like we were at it. Rodrigo looked on form, and now we've brought Bamford in as Rodrigo's been displaced, but he looked a lot more dangerous for me in that position at the moment. Fitter, a lot more hungry. And I just think we've had this really starts, season with the Queen, the Queen's funeral and not playing for such a long time. It's almost like we've had to start again. But I wish we'd have started like we did the first 3 or 4 games rather than what we've kind of become. So we've got to get back on it quick because, as you say, games come thick and fast. Arsenal's going to be a challenge. I mean, keeping their forward line quiet for 90, 96 minutes is going to be a bloody nightmare, isn't it?
Right, football under Marsch. This was the topic of my article this week for BBC Sport. Is it a good watch? And how does that impact Leeds as a brand? That's my question. Because when Leeds came back to the Premier League, Liverpool 4, Leeds 3. That was the first game back in the Premier League. It was, I think, the most watched opener, most watched Premier League game. And it was really, that moment in Gladiator where Russell Crowe comes into he's in the little Colosseum and he wins, and then he throws the sword into the sort of royal box and it lands on the table of the posh people in their ivory tower, and then he's saying, are you not entertained? And I do feel like that's what Bielsa ball was. It was absolutely all or nothing. We were either going to win or we were going to lose. There was never going to be a draw. When it went wrong, it went apocalyptically wrong.
How many words can we think of for that next word? fill in the blanks. Catastrophically.
But when it went right, we found ourselves as Leeds United, unbelievably, everyone's second favourite team, which has never happened before.
Well, I think when we were in the Champions League, I know a lot of people started watching Leeds and really getting behind them when we had the kids, the babies playing, so Alan Smith and Bowyer and all that. I know that there was a lot of people sort of got behind Leeds, and I think when Leeds are good and entertaining, all this dirty Leeds to people hating us. It's not what you tend to find when you meet people in person, is it? A lot of it's social media talk and just media stuff. But I think that. All I would say on that is it was always going to be hard. Who was going to come in and give us what Bielsa gave us? And I know we keep saying we don't want to keep going back and looking back and going on about Bielsa, but there's that thing about it was beautiful, and God, it was beautiful, and it was sometimes brutally beautiful, and sometimes it was cataclysmic in how it went wrong. But you always were behind the team because we had that identity. It was exciting. You knew what you were getting. You knew you were always going to be entertained, as you said, Donny. There was never going to be a dull game. And it's upsetting now because we're never going to have that again. I mean, how long is it going to be till we're going to see football like that again? Obviously, some of it was in the Championship, which is a much easier division.
Fucking hell, and I'm going here.
Even in the how you mate? Doesn't take much for you, does it, Sunshine? We're not going to have that again, and people have to realise that Marsch has got a different style. It's not as exciting as anybody played football like Bielsa in my lifetime at Leeds. No, so it was.
But like you said, O'Leary had this young team attacking
did
football.
It differently. Yeah,
similar to Kevin Keegan at that time with Newcastle. Yeah,
more direct, I think, O'Leary. There was much more direct, and it was a lot more physical. But yeah, it's a tough gig, and it's a bit like Moyes going in after Ferguson. It's like how are you going to follow that? And it didn't work out. And I've said it to you privately, Donny, that I'd be surprised if Marsch makes it to the World Cup.
Barnes.
And on that bombshell,
follow that.
The thing we're going on about Bielsa, and you will never. There's not any other team that you will see a team play like Bielsa. There isn't. People will compare Pep, but it's completely different. There's not the man marking system. It's not as physical either. I think with Marsch, I'm still quite open-minded about it all because it's been a broken up season. We've got it's basically a brand new team with a mixture of some of the experienced players in it.
Yeah,
and what Marsch is trying to do this in the hardest league in the world as well. Some of it, I'd say probably 40% of it is pretty good in games. Some of it you can see what he's trying to do, what the style of play is. And some people are saying, I saw on Twitter this week saying, "What is Marsch ball?" Well, it's Marsch ball. Don't call it Marsch ball. It's a different type of football. People have been saying, "Well, we were told it was going to be like Bielsa." Well, it's not. The thing is, though, it wasn't about the style. It was about the intensity and being the fittest team on that pitch all the time. And the worrying bit was that we looked absolutely knackered in the second half against Palace. And if we're going to start losing our fitness, that's worrying when we're meant to be one of the most. We're meant to be a pressing side. Like I said, I'm still open-minded about it all, but a lot of it just looks very, very messy at times. And hopefully that'll get better with muscle memory and how players will understand how to play with each other. Because, like I said, it does look good at sometimes, but half the time it looks shit. I'll be honest, it does.
Sometimes a little bit good, sometimes a little bit shit. Gattuso said it best. Yeah.
So I got this little section called the good, the bad, and the caveats.
Is that a band?
It could be, couldn't it? So should we pick some things that are good to talk about? Because
we start with the bad.
For obvious reasons. So the good, I would say, is Luis Sinisterra. Should we talk about him?
Yeah, match winner. Looks like he can do everything. Like watching him play, is exciting. You know, it's a bit like Bielsa. You can't replace a Rafinha, can you? But we've done pretty well for the money we spent to get him, because, you know, against Villa, the first half, he looked, you know, he was like megging people and coming in from that touchline and going past 2 or 3 easily. And I think, you know, it's just that I haven't quite got that. Maybe that it doesn't look like at the moment he's got that little bit of pace that Rafinha had when he first came to sort of, you know, just leave people. But exciting player. I can't wait to see more of him. Shame he had his, you know, the momentum disrupted a little bit by the sending off and the suspension, but he'll be back working this week. So let him free, let him loose, because he looks brilliant. And some of the goals he scored already are iconic, aren't they? You know, goals that you wouldn't have expected him to, you know, to create and to finish. You know, some of those long range ones as well, which I've not seen much of him prior to coming. So I think he's going to be a star. I think we've got another one there. So, you know, as much as people criticise Orta, rightly or wrongly, he does. I always think with Orta, it's the players he doesn't buy. So, you know, obviously I'm a big Napoli fan. I watch Napoli; they're electric at the moment, top of the Champions League group with Liverpool and Ajax in top of the Serie A. You know, that Cavar, you know, Cavar, I can't pronounce his name, but the young left winger.
Bless you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he looks absolutely outstanding. You know, Anguissa, we flirted with, who looks like he's dominating that midfield. So it's the players he doesn't buy that sometimes frustrates me.
The team we could have had.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Haaland.
I know, yeah.
Haaland, De Paul. If we keep hold of Phillips, and then we've got Rafinha and Sinisterra, Hakpo.
And I was listening to the Socially Distant podcast, so not to mention any rivals, but it's a good one. And they're all Welsh, and they were saying if Keane hadn't have ended Alfie Inge Haaland's career, he might have still been in England. In which case, you know, Erling
Haaland could be English.
Well, he is English, but he might have stayed in being more affiliated to England and therefore being our striker, would have just gone and won the World Cup.
True.
So they were all laughing, going, I love Roy Keane. Thank God for Roy Keane, because they're all Welsh. So, but yeah, it's, you know, I think Sinisterra is going to be a star. I think he'd
have probably been in the Leeds Academy with Phillips.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, Barney, Cine.
I like how he likes to shoot when he wants, anywhere from anywhere. He's got great energy, and he seems a really nice lad as well, doesn't he? It seems quite. He hasn't got the death eyes like Rafinha. Like if Rafinha would look at you like, shit, what have I done? He doesn't. He looks quite nice.
What have you done? Go on, fess up.
with Sinisterra, though, I think he looks like a really nice lad. And it's nice that where was he playing? He was he came when he signed for to his parents.
Jesus Christ!
He's living his dream for playing in the Premier League.
Yeah, good old Barney does look guilty, doesn't he?
Yeah. What have you done, Barney?
What have you done, Barney?
I think also as well. I think if you start looking at our attacking threat with Aronson as well, honestly, done anything.
You have, mate. You look like you moved into the shed up, garage. What have you been doing, mate? I mean,
I like that though. No, I like your new setup.
yeah, it's good.
So with Aronson as well, I think he needs that. He needs someone to help him because at the moment it just seems all on him to create the goals. So I think Sinisterra it'll be a good little partnership with him because what was happening is there was Phil on the Athletic showed that there were a lot of with nothing's coming down the right, and I think if Sinisterra starts, we'll see. Yeah, well, I think Christensen is tired at the moment because he's trying to learn how to defend in the Premier League. Before he could just go forward because he wasn't playing the best teams, and he had umpteen times to cross the ball in to be a more attacking. But I think he couldn't have done that on Sunday because Sahar would have ripped him apart. Exactly. So I think he's trying to work out the defending side of it first, and then we might see more assists from him bombing down the.
Surely Christensen must have applied in-game management, so he's not playing to a system where he's bombing forward as a wing back. He's managing it and making sure Zaha don't get any time and space, which he did really well. So it's obviously there to have, isn't it? So
he asked if he could go forward.
Yeah, please.
Marsch said no.
Please, like Stroik did really well on the left. You know, he did great, and he was almost making up for the lack of Harrison being on the ball, or Stroik looked like the dominant force down the left, and as you say. We missed Sinisterra on the right massively because then Christensen could have done his job at fullback and let Sinisterra run riot. But just shame. He'll get back on it.
Very unassuming is Sinisterra. That's my take.
I always used to have problems with Rafina being a bit of a rascal and with his shorts halfway up his leg and skulking about and pouting and all that, and proved to be right, didn't I? As soon as he could get out, he was off skiing. I loved him for that game against Brentford, the last game, but I always had my little issues with him, didn't I? So, Sinisterra doesn't look like he's got any of that in his makeup.
No. He doesn't look too happy at Barca either.
Well, he did last night, throwing his shirt around when they got on to Champions League. Listen, it's going to play that Gabrielle song, Dreams Can Come True. Oh, dear. Look what's happened to you.
Okay, now the good, the bad, and the caveats. So we're on to the bad. Have we pretty much done all that?
The bad is the turn on. Yeah, we probably have actually, but I think it's the turn of form from the first 4 or 5 games where we thought, you know what, we're going to do all right here. It's going to be okay. We've solved the kind of leaky goal man marking system that's not working, and I think that's the bad. Is it's suddenly gone from that the kind of optimism that Chelsea created and sort of being second in league and to looking like we might flounder and end up being similarly down 6, 7, 8, bottom 6, 7, 8 in the league. So, yeah, that's the greatest disappointment. Is I did genuinely, as dark as I am and as pessimistic as I am and cynical, I thought, I think we might be okay. I think we'll sit comfortable mid-table, and it now feels like we may not. But I think we've got to reinforce in January. I'm still a massive believer that that I don't think that squad's finished yet.
Yeah, I forgot to mention one good, which is that there's only been one goal.
There's only two, Donny. You can't forget the other one.
There's only been 1 or 2 goals in every game, apart from the outliers, so Chelsea and Brentford. There's only been 1 or 2 goals to either draw a loss or win a draw. So I think that's quite good that it's quite tight, but. The bad. I'd just say the performances. I don't think it's a good advertisement, like you said, Barnes, for the Premier League or for Leeds United. Okay, let's talk about the caveats then.
I've got one bad.
Oh, sorry, Barnes. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, just one bad.
So you don't normally say anything, say any bad things. So,
Well, I think it's going to be quite controversial, but I think that since we've been in the Premier League, we've become that fan base of entitlement, thinking because we're Leeds United, we shouldn't be in this position. We should be higher up.
The fans. You're not talking about the bad performances, not the referees.
Talk about alienating yourself.
Right. Fuck you, fans.
He's gone full in. Fuck you,
we're
Leeds United.
we're 8 games into the season, and fans are already saying Marsch needs to go. 8 games, and it's not been 8 games Saturday after Saturday after Saturday. It's been disrupted all season, and it's going to get disrupted again in December as well for the World Cup. So I think it's far too early to say he needs to go. It's too early. And I don't want to go down the route of last season looking at every single fixture. Oh, we'll get 3 points there. We should get a draw there. Just, again, can't we just enjoy it? We've waited so fucking long to be in this league. And now it's, we're going to get relegated. We're going to get relegated. We win a game. We're going to get into Europe. We're going to get relegated. It's so boring.
Go on, Barney.
Go on, Barney.
Barney's not used to having a rant. So when it ends, it feels just a little bit like...
Barney's got... He looks like Tango, man, and he's gone straight in there for the fizz, hasn't he?
Start lying. There you go.
Yeah.
You know when you've been tangoed.
Yeah. That's better. You don't look quite as orange. You don't look quite as Jupiter now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's hard, isn't it? Because we've been down that long, and I think when we came up with Bielsa, we thought we were going to take the Premier League by storm, and people do react. Yeah. I mean, you always think we're going to get in Europe anyway, Barney, so we should all live in your world. It's like whether we're down bottom 3 or not. Yeah, we'll be in Europe by the end of the season. So
we will, because we're winning the FA Cup.
God bless you. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
I think in that first season back, we beat Fulham away, and it was all like socks off if you've won in London.
Oh, and yeah. Fucking what great days they were. The halcyon days.
The halcyon days, yeah, exactly. And then after that, the end of that season was enjoyable. I enjoyed it. And I think we were 3rd in the form table or something like that for the last 10 games.
Fucking brilliant.
But that aside, yeah, it's been fucking horrible.
Yeah, I think all that season was pretty good, wasn't it? But like I say, once we got to that mark of safety, which we always kind of, I think deep down felt we would do. But then obviously last year was appalling, and you fucking, you shat on and fallen out with and fallen out of love with the absolute hero. Everybody uniformly absolutely adored Bielsa, didn't they? So there was a lot of bad things, and I think it's probably just a little bit less emotional this year. It feels a bit flat, doesn't it? Like you said, the crowd the crowd not quite as at it, and the players not quite as united at times, and I think you would definitely seen some of the consequences of that. But another caveat I would, if we're going to move on to caveats, by the way, caveat I would make is we haven't played anybody yet. So bar Chelsea, who I think weren't playing well. They sacked the manager a couple of games later. We haven't really played anybody decent yet, I would probably argue. The other caveat on a positive side is I think a lot of the new signings have been really good. I've been more disappointed with Harrison, Bamford, as much as I know he's been in and out, than I have with, I think, Adams. I like watching Adams play. He's 100%. He gets stuck in. He doesn't give much ground. He's a bit of a shit house, and he gets stuck into people, and he likes to leave a bit on them. And Rocker, I think, is a good footballer, very clever footballer. Sinister, we've already talked about. Christensen looks like he might settle into that role, and a bit of a beast. I like the way when he got took off on Sunday. He was like, "Come on!" So like ailing, and he's really that. Look, I like people like that. Encouraging others and not being like, "Oh, why am I getting taken off?" Yeah. But like, yeah, come on, let's go do this. And I like, So I think that the people we've purchased have been pretty decent, all in all. So caveat some of the negatives with considering they've only played 8 games in Premier League, they look good.
Caveats, Barnes?
Yeah, listen, he lives in Harrogate. He thinks a caveat something you wear around your neck with a spoon when you're smoking a pipe.
What does it mean, caveat?
I'll let you describe that.
Caveat, it just means like to explain the circumstances. So some that might explain the bad aspects. So
all right. Okay, now.
So for me, for example, is that we because of the Queen's death, we missed a month. So it was like another pre-season almost. So the games directly after that, we didn't have match fitness, and we hadn't got used to those games. So
that's another anti-Leeds thing. It's like she's been alive 96 years. We have a really brilliant start to the season. Fucking hell, love. You could have chose a different time to win.
I think
everybody's out to get us, even Queen. Fucking hell.
I think
we don't mean that, royalists.
I think the caveat for me is I don't think we actually know our best side yet. If you think about it, it's not been a consistent side each game. I'm probably wrong, usually am, but with our front three has not been the same all the time. Sinisterra's out of the game. We've had Rodrigo up front. Now we've got Bamford up front. It's not been fluid enough. We've not seen the fluid first 11 that we think, that's going to be our first 11.
Yeah, Llorente and Cooper.
Yeah, another caveat is fucking Bamford looks like he's having the right time at home with baby, doesn't he? He looks knackered, isn't he? He's not even got time to go get an haircut.
He looks like Pat Sharp.
He looked better when he was playing Warzone till 4 a.m.
Telling you, he does. Because at least then you go to bed and that's you. He looks like that baby never sleeps, man. He looks absolutely bedraggled. We've all been there, haven't we? Like with babies where this fucking hell, you go to work thinking I'm dead on my feet here. I look like a zombie. I feel like a zombie. I literally could just chuck myself in front of the next bus that comes along. But he proper looks like, he doesn't look like a professional sportsman anymore. He doesn't know.
Yes, so Marsch doesn't know his best team. I think that's a big one as well because, they have only played 8 games. We did sign a lot of players. We did lose our 2 best players. It is very tight in the middle, and those games could have gone if we'd have had better refereeing for 4 of them.
Yeah, true.
They could have easily gone the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great caveat. That's probably number one. It is, as I said, it's a fine margin game at the moment, isn't it? And the other caveat is you could throw a blanket over about 6 or 7 teams in that league. Let's be honest. I look at like Everton, Southampton, Wolves, Nottingham Forest, Fulham. There's probably more. There's probably 10 teams you could throw a blanket over in that league, and they're all going to be sort of struggling along this year by the looks of it, in my opinion. Look at the squad. You look at the way we play football. Look at the way they play football. Struggle to break teams down. Don't create a load of chances per game. It's going to be tight. It's going to be really tight. Hopefully, crowd at Ellen Road. The other thing is I thought we've made a bit of a fortress of Ellen Road this year as well. It seems that's coming back a little bit. I mean, it was a bit flat the other day, Barney, but I think that was the game, wasn't it? The way the game played out, and it didn't help. But I hope we can make Ellen Road a fortress. Listen, if you get enough points at home, it doesn't really matter what you do on the road, does it? You get a few wins here and there, a couple of draws, you're all right. So, yeah, let's see how we go. It feels like, it's almost like our podcast. It's been a stop-start one, hasn't it, this year? It's kind of like, went missing for a month, We don't come on just to, self-gratify each other, do we? It's more like, you come on if we've got something to talk about. We felt like we hadn't had to talk about for a month, so...
it's also fun. We do this for fun, right? It might not look like it.
It doesn't at the moment. It's not. It might be hard for us to find any at the moment, but apparently so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a job. Okay, Gordon White. Do Jesse and Marcelo have the same weakness? No plan B. Yes. Bandit. The board should go all out and spend the money to get Diego Simeone to the Premier League. Okay. Gordon White, because Simone's fantastic football, known for playing fantastic football, is it? Sorry,
biggest shit house in European football, isn't it?
Gordon White, I think we need 4 points. I thought he said 4 pints. I think we need 4 pints in the next 4 matches, or Jesse's on rocky ground. I think we need to beat Fulham and Bournemouth. I think if we win those games, he'll be all right. And I think if we lose those games, if you look at the other matches, other fixtures coming up, very tough. So there's only 6 Premier League games before the next pre-season. Arsenal probably going to lose. Let's face it, we haven't done the preview yet. But Leicester, mixed bag. They're always good against us. And then it's Fulham. Then we play Liverpool at Anfield. Always an easy fixture. Then Bournemouth at home. And then Spurs away. And then that's it. So Spurs, Liverpool, Arsenal, you'd think they're write-offs. Probably not going to get anything. Leicester.
You know what? Knowing us, we'll probably go get some. We might beat Arsenal this weekend. Let's be positive. You know what I mean? Knowing us, we'll probably do that.
Sorry, I'm just.
Tell you what, Barney, he don't know what caveat. He lives in Harrogate. He's a Tory. He don't know what caveat means, and he can't fucking spell.
It's because I'm using my son's laptop.
You having a stroke, Barney? Sorry.
Because I'm using my son's laptop, and he's put flaming stickers over the buttons, and I can't see the letters.
Any excuse.
Anyway, I'll read some chat and then we'll let Barney go. I think I'm going to have to translate that comment. He's written a comment in the private chat and it's unreadable. It's unreadable. I think he means that he's got to go soon. So I'll read some of your comments and then we'll get some final thoughts. Evening Lads says, Derek, it's been a while. Tom Gatlin says, I can't believe this squad is £250 million. £250 million ain't what it used to be, Tom. Not with inflation, not with the Tory inflation. The good says Bandit signings. The bad is Marsch. The caveat's none. Pretty mean there, Bandy. Do you think we will bring in a left back or a number 9 in January? Both, if they've got any sense.
Don't think so. No.
We need Strauch and Koch as our centre backs, in my opinion, and then we need a fantastic attacking left back.
I think we'll get an attack. We'll get a striker in. I think because Roberts is going to be so prolific at QPR, he's going to bring him back.
Right. Yeah. There we go. So there we go. You happy with that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Tyler Roberts up front for the Leeds.
Fuck you know.
The only other thing I wanted
to
talk about.
I'd rather have Bonnie. I'd rather have Bonnie Tyler than fucking Tyler Roberts.
We're certainly holding out for a hero this season.
Hey!
See what he did there? You see what he did there? Okay, no.
It's good that.
I'll pitch him. You knock him out the park, don't it?
Right. Yeah. The only other thing I wanted to talk about was I feel like we're treading waters. We're treading water until the 49ers take over. I just feel like, you look at Radrizzani's net worth, £450 million. And how much can he realistically put into the club? In the Premier League, where you've got owners dumping £1 billion in, and still not getting anywhere. I'm looking at you, scum. And you've got 49ers sitting there waiting to take over. It'll be a £200 million extra for them, plus they get Ellen Road. So won't be paying any rent on that to Radrizzani's old company. And they've got, £7 billion in their net worth. So
I've said it for ages, the boardroom's causing loads of trouble at Leeds.
I think that's
100%.
Yeah.
Right.
You read between the lines, that stupid bloody agreement they've got where they can't put in more than bloody... What is all that about? I mean, fucking hell. So there's a load of stuff. I said it. You can go back through the podcast. I think since the middle of last season, I've said there's a problem there with the board, and it's causing issues on the pitch for sure.
Okay, final thoughts, Barnes.
What about previewing Arsenal?
No, we're going to lose. That's the preview.
6 minutes.
Prepare yourself for disappointment.
No, we're winning 2-1 Leeds.
If we lose by 2-0, I'll be happy with that. Because I'll be honest, that when watching Arsenal last weekend, they're a special side. They are. Yeah. They do play really good football. Really good football.
They are. Yeah, they are.
So do we.
For 30 minutes.
Slagged us off for 54 minutes, and then I think we're going to beat Arsenal 2-1. That's a life of a football fan, isn't it?
I tell you what. Here's my thoughts on Arsenal. In our 20-minute cameo that we'll make in the game, if we put our chances away, we've got a chance. If we don't...
Here's my thoughts on Arsenal. If that prick Arteta doesn't get in his fucking technical area, because he's the only bastard who's allowed to get away with it over the clock, he never stands. He's literally on the touchline. There's times where people are reading that touchline. I once got an umbrella around my neck playing at Middleton, fucking the Middleton Arms away by an old granny. And he's only a couple of games away from doing that, and so honestly, it pisses me off, man. Little Spanish bastard.
Vance, you've got to go, don't you?
Yes, I've got to go.
Right.
We'll do final thought. We'll do final thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on, Leeds!
What's your final thought, Barney?
Final thought. Cherish every moment with your child because they grow up too quickly.
Oh, God.
Oh,
there you go.
Where's the tissues?
See you later, lads.
See you,
boy. See you,
Bye.
Barney. Good to see you, brother.
You too, mate.
There we go. So that was Barney. We'll stay on for a little bit then.
No, I'm starving, mate.
Yeah. We must not trust the 49ers, says Bandy. What have they done, Bandy?
Bandy always speaks his mind. He's very a man of opinions, isn't he?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, you look at our Americans. The guy at Chelsea who's coming who wants to have an all-star game between the North and the South and franchise. And that's how it's going. Isn't it? We know where it's going. We'll all be in about 20 years going to Guiseley, Farsley, Celtic, and watching grassroots non-league football because it's all going to go to shit. That's my opinion. Especially if it's full of Americans because fucking idiots, aren't they? Sorry, our American followers, but fuck you, you're all idiots.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say too much because I've probably got quite unpopular opinions about that. I actually think that it wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea to have a relegation playoff, to put the playoffs, the bottom three of the Premier League with the playoff in the Championship. I wouldn't mind that, but
no, I wouldn't. I think that's different. That's a different thing, isn't it? But I think
that'd be quite a big spectacle because I actually like watching the playoffs in the Championship. When you're not involved in it, definitely. Yeah.
When you're not involved in it, But I think the thing with that is if you look at rugby league, the Rugby Football League have just announced that they're backing the idea not to have relegation from the Super League. What the fuck? That is a proper American thing. That's like NFL where nobody gets relegated. It's just like you're always there and the drafts and all that. And it sort of strikes me as that'll be the next thing that they do in rugby league. And I just see football. The more Americans get involved, and I'm not going to be xenophobic about Americans. They're not my favourite, people on the planet, but. Everybody's different, aren't they? And I've met some brilliant people, brilliant Americans, but I've met a lot of wankers. And if you look at all the big corporate people, the people with money, the thing about it's not about Americans, actually. It's about money. Money talks to Americans. That's all they're concerned about in sport. You look at the sportsmen, you look at how much they get paid in all these sports. You look at, how much money has ruined sport and made it all about money and winning things rather than being about the competition and the things it does for communities and the things it puts back into, people's lives. And I just think that we're going to go down that route. The more American owners we've got and they're growing by the year, I just think we're going to get more stupid rule changes, possibly going to having quarters because more advertising, breaks, drinks breaks where they have advertising. I just can see it coming. I sincerely hope not because we have to protect and retain, the dignity of the sport in English sport. But
I think the only benefit from having no relegation would be that you might not get so much shithousing. Because there wouldn't be the fear of relegation, so you might get football where people take more chances or feel like they can because
I like shithousing though.
It doesn't matter so much. Don't you rub me in my shithousing.
Don't rub me in my shithousing and laughing at people getting relegated. I fucking love that.
I love watching only about 50 minutes of the game with 40 minutes of the rest of it time wasted. And
well, that was the other caveat I was going to say actually was the fact that Villa came to waste time. Everton did it last year. Wolves did it this year. people coming to Ellen Road because of the style that we play and just think, I'm going to let them play 45 minutes of a game and having a goalie take 2 minutes to take a goal kick or half an hour to take a throw in. That's what's killing the game as well, as much as I'm on about franchising and America. Yeah, that's awful.
That's what I meant. And the reason why they're doing that is because they're scared of relegation because it's £100 million deficit, isn't it?
I don't think it is. I think back in the day, you had brilliant managers, Bob Paisley, Don Revie, all these brilliant managers, Shankly and so on and so on. You could go on forever. They were, as much as they were respected, they weren't the dominant force. And you look at it now, and the managers have become so pivotal in every team's identity and so on, that a manager indoctrinates that. Players don't play like that. No player goes out to play professional football to waste time, take ages overthrowing, take ages to go collect a ball from the hoardings. That's indoctrinated them by managers. This is their style of play. We're going to slow it down, take the momentum out of the game and kill it. No player wants to play like that. That's my opinion.
Goes right back to money, though. That's what you're talking about, isn't it? Because
too important.
If you don't get the results,
it's too important.
You're going to get relegated. Yeah. And you as a manager, you have to get those results. So that's what it comes down to. It's like
results business, absolutely, mate. Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Did you want to preview Arsenal, or do you just want to do final thoughts?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we've probably touched it briefly, but how can you preview it? Which Leeds United is going to turn up? Is Sinister back? Sinister's back in.
He's back. So he's back.
Make a big difference. Listen, it's going to be bloody tough because they've got. You look at teams. Some teams who are decent teams have got 2 or 3 good players. You look around that team and everybody's good, aren't they? There's not really any weaknesses in that team. Odegaard, the Saliba at the back. young lad Gabriel, Ben White, who we know to be a good footballer.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, that's not Love Island. Love Island's Ben White.
He's another one we could have got.
I know, yeah, if only. You look at that. That's not even talking about the front three. I mean, scary.
Vardiol. There's another one we could have got.
Who?
What team we could have had? What a team.
Oh, I don't. But
Martinelli, Jesus.
Yeah, and
Saka.
Oh dear. So it's going to be tough, innit? But we're going to have to use every fibre of our gamesmanship to try and get something from that game, in my opinion. It won't just be about the football. It will be about the shithousing. It'll be about disruption. It'll be about unsettling people. I think Martinelli's gettable out. I think Jesus, possibly. I think there's other players in that team you can get.
He gets frustrated, doesn't he? He gets frustrated.
Yeah. Saka definitely can get at Granit Xhaka.
Xhaka, yeah. See, if we had Alioski... if we still had Alioski, I'd be saying just mark Xhaka.
Well, get Klish on Xhaka. That's how you do it, isn't it?
Yeah, fully, yeah. Start Click
and just say, listen, don't leave him. Don't play football. Yeah. Just wander around talking to his mum and his sisters and his family. He'll be gone in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, because, I mean, Alioski got... Was it Pepe? I think he got Pepe sent off, didn't he?
During COVID, the 0-0 won it, where we should have won it, really, but yeah.
Yeah. So there is opportunity there, and they might underestimate us. They had a big game against Liverpool, didn't they? So
I'll remind you of this when we're 3-0 down after 4 minutes.
Right. Nothing would surprise me.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if we were 2-0 up after 10. It wouldn't surprise me if we were 4-0 down at half time. It's one of them, isn't it? But listen, you've got to stay optimistic, haven't you? As much as I joke about on here, and I have been disappointed with that. That's the greatest point for me, is how we've dropped off after that start, and that's been the thing. But equally capable of probably picking it up again and going on a run. So keep us fingers crossed. And as I say, wouldn't surprise me if we go beat Arsenal. Lose to Brentford, draw with Villa, lose to Palace, go beat Arsenal would be a typical Leeds thing to do. So let's keep hoping.
Yeah, as much as it was the tactics against Palace, I mean, very clearly, I also feel like one of the worrying signs was that we never gave up. We never gave up last season. Yeah. We had more goals after 90 minutes than any other team.
Yeah.
And there was always that passion. There was always that energy, that fitness, that psychology. We always believed we could win, and I felt like we pretty much capitulated against Palace, and barring one shot from Joffrey, I don't remember us doing anything
I said it to you on WhatsApp, though. I can see it fizzling out. As soon as, even before this, I said to you on WhatsApp, I think it's going to fizzle out this game. I just can't see as we look devoid of ideas. We look like we've lost that. The thing is that Vieira must have known how we were going to play. He knows Marsch well enough, and he knows what Leeds are all about. So to actually go out and do what we did in the first half an hour is an achievement, but how we can't carry that on or change, to be able to continue to challenge him. As you say, it fizzled out, didn't it? And that's disappointing, really.
Right then, final thoughts? You got a thing?
Have I got a thing?
Yeah, you seen any films or, anything non-Leeds related that...
Yeah, well, I'm trying to watch more live music, because I do like my live music. I'm not one of these that wants to travel the country watching certain bands. So I've got my certain venues in Leeds, Belgrade Music Hall, the Brunel, obviously, the smaller venues that I really love. So I've got a week at Varieties, which will be amazing. So it's a really small old theatre hall. So it's like an audience with, so they're going to do music and an interview. I've just got tickets for just loads of people playing at small venues in Leeds. I'm getting really back into going to watch live music. So that's probably my thing this week. Fucking work's mental, busy. My son, right? I can't even see it now, but look at that. It looks like I've been slashed with a Stanley knife down my entire nose. So I should probably tell a story about how I got involved in a tussle with somebody with a Stanley knife. But my son, literally, his fingernails should be registered as offensive weapons. So we had a wrestle on the bed the other day, which resulted in me pouring with blood from my nose. So yeah, I'm getting chinned by my 13-year-old son now. So yeah, there are a couple of my things. Luca's going up to Shadow Squad at Leeds United, so he's got his assessment up 4th of November. So he's now in second tier of. So there's the Elite Academy and the second tier. Shadow Squad, which Luca's moving up to, so I'm dead proud of him for that. My little one's settled into high school really well, so yeah, I've got loads of brilliant stuff going on, but life's chaos, mate. Chaos, organised chaos.
Fantastic. Yeah, well done, Luca.
Yeah, he's well. It's like I said, Leeds United. I mean, that squad, that under 14s Leeds United squad, it has Archie's Gray's younger brother in it. I've forgotten his name now. Is it Harry or Edward? I can't remember what it's called now.
Harry, I think
it is Harry, isn't it? Oh my God, he's unbelievable, mate. If you think Archie's good, he looks like he's going to be a prospect. He's a different level. So it's a really great standard, that under 14 Leeds United Academy. So to get into Shadow Squad's an achievement, but it's going to be a challenge this year because it gets serious when you're in there. They drop people after 6 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever. So see how he gets on, fingers crossed. He owes me about $2,000 in football boots, so he better make it.
Okay, for me, I've just watched a show called The Walk-In from ITV. And
is that Stephen Graham?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Very, very good.
Is it good? Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, very highly recommend that. And there's another one called The Capture, which I thought, yeah,
you mentioned that before, haven't you?
Yeah, that was really good. So almost like an English Black Mirror. If you took one episode and turned it into a couple of seasons, so really liked that. So they're my recommendations. And don't worry too much about anything really. Leeds United football, what people say on Twitter. Yeah, just let
it all wash over you.
Yeah, that's it.
By the way, speaking of telly, Stanley Tucci's Finding Italy, or the Italy program. Stanley Tucci's program is really good. So that's another one to watch. And I've found a really great series called The Bake Off. It's fantastic. Honestly, you'll love it.
Stanley Tucci, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's like Finding Italy or Discovering Italy or something. It's on BBC Two. It's really good. He's sort of doing all the 20 regions of Italy and the food and stuff. And it's decent. It's decent.
Yeah, I mean, I would say House of the Dragon, but I'm sure everyone's heard of that.
I watched one episode and I've not really got back into it. So, yeah. It took me a long time to get into Game of Thrones, to be fair. So maybe it'll come back to me. But
yeah, it's better. In my opinion, it's better than Game of Thrones.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Bold statement.
High praise. Indeed. Yeah. Right here. Final thoughts, says Bandy. Cherish the season before the fish-eyed fool takes us down. He's really got it in for Marsch. Derek as well. I've no faith in Marsch, says Derek. I'll tell you what, it was better after Chelsea, wasn't it?
Everybody loved him after Chelsea. That's it. It's a fickle game, isn't it?
14 Yorks. 49ers are not the saviours. They won't splash the cash. You don't know the NFL or the 49ers owners. You're right. I do not know the 49ers.
Yeah. Couldn't give a shit, mate, to be honest. I fucking hate
not about
football.
the NFL.
Don't like San Francisco 49ers. Couldn't give a shit.
And Derek says, maybe we need to slow the game down and time waste on Sunday. It's the only way we'll get anything out of the game. Yep.
To our credit, we haven't got it in us. I don't think we've got it in us. We just won't do it. We'll go toe-to-toe and get twice. Well, you know what? Good. I'm glad we haven't got it in us. You know, I mean, I think shithousing and disrupting and all that's great in game, but wasting time. It's the lowest form. It's the absolute lowest common denominator in it for a football team. No footballer plays football to go out there and take half an hour over a throw-in. So it's proper anti-football shit, that.
Rightio then. That's your lot.
Alrighty. It's been a joy, mate. It's nice to have you back, mate. You know what I mean? I feel like I've like my long-lost brothers back. It's like, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Man. Yeah, man. Hopefully it won't be...
get some consistency
hopefully it won't
going.
be that long. Yeah. Come on, Leeds!